Elliot took a sip of his own drink and felt the emptiness yawn in him faster and more frightening than ever before. He heard his heart creep and his nerves slow. Every person around him, every surface of the bar grew fur and covered him with dizzy warmth. But his mind was still alert. He was completely alert as the man dragged him out of the bar and into the alley. He felt every pebble lodged in his skin, every pool of grime that tangled into his hair. He felt every cut, every bruise, and he felt the enormous chasm growing ever larger inside him, wider even than the distance between him and the stars on that clear, clear night. And he felt the man's anger, his rage at rejection, his revenge, pouring into Elliot like a thick, soupy black oil, disappearing down into the empty pit until it barely existed anymore. The emptiness belched black smoke as it swallowed the man's hate and created a spark of desire. Elliot wanted more. He knew now what the emptiness demanded. He knew how he could fill himself up like a mountain hollowed out to gather radioactive waste. He felt the purpose, the excitement, the need to collect the aggressive runoff of evil men who would hold him down and demand he take it. Paralyzed in the alley after the man had left him bruised and broken, Elliot, in his waking sleep, could move only just enough to manage a smile. The train stopped, the doors opened, and a wall of rush-hour commuters advanced into the train. The Wall Street man made his move, darting and weaving between the people until the doors closed again and he was standing in front of Elliot. He pushed a large man in an overcoat out of the way, exchanging words that Elliot was too sleepy to understand. The large man, the overcoat, blew smoke out of his nose, narrowing his eyes and moving his hat to reveal two enormous horns. The Wall Street man snarled, driving the overcoat back before he turned his attention back to Elliot. "So what do you want?" the Wall Street man asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," Elliot always told them he didn't know. They loved that. Elliot pressed up against the closed door of the train as the Wall Street man began to privately explore his body. Now they were moving. Chavella had banned Elliot from the bar because he'd gained a reputation and started to attract a rough crowd. You let the wolves get a taste for blood and they come back with friends. And Elliot had made the sanguine smell pungent, acting innocent, lost, finding the men with no confidence and dark intentions, seeking revenge on the beautiful boys like him they hated and loved at the same time. Elliot grew masterful at playing the lost lamb with them, until they rendered him helpless and unleashed wave upon wave of hate that he would swallow like it was nothing. They needed each other, the men and Elliot, almost in a geological way, a continental way, a planetary way, like some cycle of nature where the men created and Elliot destroyed. Not all of them would resort to chemical means of subduing him. Some would be rough, use something heavy, a fist or a rock. Some wouldn't use anything and would beat around the bush, hoping that Elliot would make the first move, which he never would. That would ruin it. In those situations, Elliot would take something himself, from a tiny pink purse in his jeans pocket stuffed with little blue pills. Chavella tried to take the purse from him once. "You're gonna OD on that shit, baby," she said, "and you are not going into some seizure in my fucking bar." He fought her, claws out. She didn't get it. He had to be helpless. He had to be still and ancient and open as the earth itself. The men were only completely honest with his body when they thought he was asleep. All the non-sleep was not without its consequences. The day stopped having borders and the night seemed to last forever. Elliot traveled by sleepwalking. He spoke in the meaningful gibberish of dreams. The world became strange and monstrous, filled with unreal creatures that drew towards the hole inside him to fill him up with their darkness. And he let them take him again and again, open, as deep and endless as the universe, and as still and manipulated as stone. It didn't always work out the way he wanted. Sometimes he'd misjudge the men. He'd see a rising steam of rage and pain in them that was nothing more than loneliness. There was the young man, not much older than Elliot, skin taut with muscles and face thick with a permanent scowl, who, when Elliot's body collapsed in his arms, grew tender and soft. He held him like a small child and carried him to his bed, where he laid him out and they stared at each other, the muscled man with caution and concern, Elliot with comatose contempt. Why didn't he just fuck him? That's all Elliot wanted. He wanted him to fuck him. Now, fuck me now, fill me up. The emptiness gnawed at him like hunger. But the muscled man stared at him with puppy dog innocence, like Elliot was something precious. When Elliot finally slipped out of his semi-sleep the next morning, he angrily gathered his things. "Don't worry," the muscled man said, his scowl wiped clean in the daylight. "I didn't do anything while you were asleep." "Oh, I know." "Stay. Talk." Elliot stumbled, dizzy. "Did you take something?" "Maybe. Why, you want some?" "No, just worried." "I'm not looking for a boyfriend," Elliot snapped, but the young man didn't let up. Innocence poured out of his face, real innocence, and to Elliot it felt sick and sweet. He recognized the longing in the muscled man, an emptiness that seemed to match his own. Elliot felt a deep and angry desire to hurt him, to hold him down and make him pay for his innocence, but before the rage could bubble up in him, he walked out of the apartment and into the cold sun.